when my mother-in-law slipped something odd into my drink while she thought I wasn't watching. She grinned and called it a unique cocktail crafted for her cherished son-in-law. I thanked her politely and, without drawing attention, swapped glasses with her husband, who always belittled my profession. 45 minutes later, I'm Julian Mercer, 32, a freelance photographer in Asheville, North Carolina. I've built my career from scratch: weddings, wildlife, magazine features, the kind of work that sustains you if you're skilled. And I am. But to my in-laws, particularly Diane, my work has never measured up. "How's your little photo hobby going?" Gerald would sneer at family gatherings, his contempt barely veiled. He was a finance mogul, the sort who gauged success by property size and investment portfolios. Every Sunday meal at their place followed the same script. Diane fussed over her daughter, while Gerald grilled me about my earnings. My wife, Haley, would grip my hand beneath the table, her silent apology for her parents' behavior. I'd spent the week hiking through Montana's snowdrifts, capturing bison for a National Geographic spread. Exhausted, I still agreed to attend Diane's birthday dinner because Haley insisted. "Just a couple of hours," she assured me. I should have heeded the unease in my gut when Diane cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes flickering nervously as she handed me a drink, her fingers trembling slightly as she said, "I mixed this just for you." Something felt off. I had no idea how dire it was about to become. Haley and I met 6 years ago at an art gallery showcasing my work. She was completing her master's in environmental science, and I was beginning to gain recognition. We clicked instantly. She got my need to see the world through a camera, and I admired her dedication to preserving it. Her parents, however, were a different matter. From our first encounter, Gerald made it clear he'd envisioned a different match for his daughter, someone with a corporate job, a pension, a company vehicle, someone like him. Diane was more discreet, complimenting my photos while probing when I'd switched to a secure career. She'd include me in family events but introduce me as the photographer rather than her son-in-law. For years, I tried to earn their approval, bringing fine wine to dinners, sharing published pieces, name-dropping notable clients. Nothing shifted their view that I was a temporary fixture in Haley's life, a phase she'd outgrow. Last Christmas, I overheard Diane on the phone. "Haley could have married Thomas, you know, the surgeon with old money, but she picked the artistic one." The way she lingered on artistic made it sound like a curse. Gerald was blunter. When Haley and I shared we were trying for a child, he cornered me. "Kids cost money, son. Maybe consider a real job first." I never told Haley these slights. She loved her parents despite their flaws, and I didn't want to make her pick sides. So I smiled, shook Gerald's hand firmly at every visit, praised Diane's cooking, and kept my feelings private. But there were clues I should have taken more seriously. Diane pulling Haley into the kitchen whenever I mentioned a career win. Her accidental omission of me from family pictures. Gerald suggesting therapy for Haley's reckless choices while staring at me. I brushed it off, believing time would bring acceptance. I was mistaken. On the Friday of Diane's birthday dinner, I returned from Montana with chapped skin and a memory card full of shots that would cover our mortgage for months. Bone-weary, I cleaned up, donned a dress shirt, and drove us to their upscale colonial home. Dinner began typically. Gerald boasted about a recent deal, Diane obsessed over table arrangements. Haley's brother Owen and his wife Vanessa made small talk. I sipped a beer, counting down to our exit. After the main course, Diane announced she'd prepared her signature sangria for dessert. She vanished into the kitchen, and I offered to help with the glasses. That's when I saw it. 2 glasses set apart from the rest. As I approached, she hurriedly poured something from a small vial into one. It wasn't a garnish or syrup, colorless, odorless. She hid the vial when she heard me. "Oh, Julian. I've got this," she said, overly cheerful. "This one's yours, a special blend for my favorite son-in-law." My chest tightened. The drink had a faint sheen on its surface, glinting under the light. "Let me carry those," I said, grabbing both glasses. In the dining room, Gerald was glued to his phone, barely glancing up as I set the tampered glass before him. "Sangria, sir." I took the other, claiming I preferred water with dessert. 45 minutes later, Gerald was ashen, sweating, and bolting to the bathroom. The sounds of his sickness reverberated through the house. Diane's face went pale when she realized the mistake. Her eyes locked with mine, and in that instant I knew 2 things for certain. My mother-in-law had tried to poison me, and she knew I'd figured it out. I didn't react or confront her, just ate my dessert while Haley checked on her father. Amid the chaos, Gerald insisting it was bad seafood, Diane muttering about spoiled shrimp, I pocketed the untouched glass meant for me, something shifted in me. The anger wasn't fiery or loud, it was icy, calculated. I wouldn't let this slide, but I'd fight on my terms. The following Monday, I took the glass to Jason, a former client who ran a tox lab. "Personal or business?" he asked when I explained. "Family issue," I said. 3 days later, he called. "Julian, there were benzodiazepines in that drink. Not deadly, but enough to knock you out, maybe mess with your memory. Where'd this come from?" I thanked him, requested a report, and dodged his question. That night, I told Haley I wanted to skip Sunday dinners for a bit, citing an upcoming gallery show. She was disappointed, but agreed. I didn't mention the lab results yet. I needed more data. Over 2 weeks, I investigated. Diane had Xanax prescriptions from 3 doctors, stockpiling doses for years. I also uncovered local gossip, odd behavior at a neighbor's event, claims of theft at her country club, stories her family had hushed up. I gathered it all and bided my time. My chance came when Haley said her mother wanted me to shoot photos for her social media profile. "She asked for you specifically," Haley said, surprised. I agreed. On Saturday, I arrived at their house alone, camera bag in one hand, an envelope in the other. Diane was waiting, impeccably dressed, makeup flawless. "Gerald was at work," she said. "Before we begin," I said softly, "you might want to see this." I handed her the envelope with the tox report and her prescription records. Her hands shook as she read. "This is ridiculous," she whispered. We both know what happened," I interrupted. "What I don't know is why." Her expression turned cold. "You're not worthy of my daughter, and you never will be. A man should offer stability, not snapshots. And spiking your daughter's husband's drink offers stability." I kept my tone even. "It wasn't meant to harm you," she snapped. "Just make you ill, make you miss that silly gallery event you've been boasting about, prove to Haley you're unreliable." I let that settle. "Here's what happens now," I said. "You tell Gerald what you did, and you both start treating me with respect. Not because you've changed your minds about me, but because the alternative is Haley learning exactly who her parents are." Diane gave a hollow laugh. "She'll never believe you over us." I grabbed my camera bag. "Maybe not, but she'll believe the lab report, the prescriptions, and the neighbors you've alienated. Are you willing to risk your bond with your daughter on that?" I left without snapping a single photo. That evening, Diane called Haley, sobbing, claiming I'd acted aggressively during the session. When Haley confronted me, I couldn't hide the truth anymore. I showed her the report, the prescriptions, and years of hostile texts from her mother. "My mom wouldn't do this," she said, but her voice wavered. The next day, she confronted her parents. I wasn't there, but when she returned, her eyes were swollen from tears. "My dad says it's a misunderstanding, that you're trying to tear us apart because you're insecure about your job." I nodded, expecting this. "What do you think?" I asked. She didn't respond, just climbed into bed and faced away from me. I'd pushed back, but somehow I'd slipped deeper into their web. Now I was the antagonist in their narrative, and they'd sown doubt in the one person who mattered most. For 2 weeks, Haley barely spoke to me. She visited her parents alone, returning with fresh tears and new uncertainties. I buried myself in work, editing in my studio, waiting for the storm to pass. Then a package arrived, no sender listed, just my name scrawled on it. Inside was a USB drive and a note. "You need to see this. Vanessa, Owen's wife." The drive held security footage from Gerald and Diane's house, time-stamped from the dinner. There was Diane in the kitchen, spiking a drink, me walking in, taking the glasses, Gerald drinking the tampered one. But there was more. Footage from after we left, Diane berating Gerald for taking the wrong glass, Gerald shouting back, "This isn't the first time you've pulled something like this." Another clip, 2 days later, showed them arguing about me. "He knows what you did," Gerald said. "So what?" Diane replied. "It's his word against mine. Haley will never choose him over family. And if she does, then she's not the daughter I raised," Diane said coldly. "Don't worry, I've already started telling her about their marriage issues, planting ideas. By the time I'm done, she'll think divorce was her choice." I closed my laptop, hands trembling. This wasn't just about me, it was a calculated effort to control Haley's life, to cut out anyone who didn't fit their mold. And it wasn't their first time. I called Vanessa. "Why send this to me?" "Because they did the same to me when I married Owen," she said softly. "They tried to split us up for 2 years, said I wasn't good enough. It nearly worked." "Why didn't you tell us?" "Owen doesn't know," she admitted. "He idolizes his father, believes every word. I tried to tell him, but he thinks I'm paranoid. I couldn't let them do it to someone else." The next day, Gerald texted, "We should talk man to man, no wives." I met him at his country club where he waited in a private room, sipping bourbon. Julian, families are messy. My wife can be intense, protective, but her heart's in the right place. Drugging someone is her heart in the right place? I asked. He waved it off. A mix-up, Diane's on anxiety meds, she probably got the glasses confused. I have the footage, Gerald. His face shifted, turning sharp and calculating. What do you want, money? Is that what this is? I always knew you married Haley for her wealth. I want you both to leave us alone, I said. Stop convincing Haley I'm not good enough. Stop meddling in our marriage. He leaned forward. You think this is the first time we've handled someone like you? People trying to leech off our family? He smirked. Haley will come back to us like always. Ask her about Thomas. Ask about the fiancé before you. A chill ran through me. What are you talking about? Haley was engaged before you. Nice guy, doctor. We didn't approve of his roots. Took 6 months to convince her he was wrong for her. She ended it, came crying to me. He smiled. History repeats, son. Driving home, I called Haley's old college roommate, Bethany, and asked about Thomas. God, that was awful, she said. He was perfect for her, but her parents convinced her he was unfaithful, planted proof. He tried to explain, but she didn't trust him anymore. The pattern was undeniable. This wasn't just about me, it was about control over Haley's entire life. And they'd done it before. I didn't confront Haley right away. Instead, I collected more evidence. Emails from Thomas showing how her parents sabotaged their relationship. Stories from Haley's former friends and exes who'd been pushed out. Vanessa sent more footage of Diane and Gerald plotting to break us up. Once they're divorced, we'll get her to move home, Gerald said in one clip. She can run the foundation, meet proper men. I copied everything onto a drive. Then I invited Owen and Vanessa to dinner without telling Haley I was about to expose her parents. Over dessert, I hooked my laptop to the TV. There's something you both need to see, I said. For an hour, we watched the clips. Haley sat frozen, her face pale. Owen muttered, "That's not my parents," shaking his head. When it ended, Haley turned to me, tears streaming. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because you needed to see it all yourself," I said. "Not just what they did to me, but what they've done to you your whole life." Owen stood, furious. "This is nonsense. You've doctored those videos." Vanessa touched his arm. "They did it to us too, Owen. Why do you think they warmed to me after we had James? A grandchild gave them leverage." Owen's face paled. "You never told me." "I tried," she whispered. "You wouldn't hear me." That night, Haley slid into bed beside me. "I need time to process this," she said quietly, "but I believe you. And I'm sorry I doubted you." The next morning, Diane called and Haley put her on speaker. "Sweetheart, why don't you stay with us for a bit?" Diane said brightly. "Your father and I are concerned. Marriage is tough and sometimes space brings perspective." "Mom," Haley cut in, "I've seen the videos." Silence. "Then what videos?" "The security footage, you spiking Julian's drink. You and Dad scheming to ruin my marriage." Another pause. "Haley, whatever he's shown you is fake. You know Julian's always been envious of our family." "Stop," Haley said firmly. "We're coming over tonight. All of us, Owen, Vanessa, Julian, and me, we're discussing this as a family, no more secrets." After hanging up, Haley turned to me. "They'll deny it all. They'll try to pin it on you." I nodded. "I know. So what's our plan?" For the first time in weeks, I smiled. "It's time your parents meet the real me, the one who doesn't just take pictures but knows how to weave a story." That evening, we arrived at Gerald and Diane's with my camera gear. Owen and Vanessa were already there, tense in the living room. Gerald seemed self-assured. "I understand there's been a mix-up." "No mix-up," I said, setting up my tripod. "I'm recording this for the family records," Diane protested. "This is private." "Exactly," I agreed. "Family matters, and I'm family despite your efforts to change that." For 2 hours, we laid it all bare. The drink, the manipulation, Thomas, the other exes, the pattern that had defined Haley and Owen's lives. Gerald and Diane denied it all, called me unhinged, scheming. But with each denial, I played a clip, showed an email. Their faces grew ashen, their defenses weaker. Finally, Haley stood. "I love you both, you're my parents. But what you've done is unforgivable. You don't control my life anymore." Owen nodded. "We're adults. We choose our own partners, our own paths." Diane wept, not from guilt, but from losing her grip. Gerald looked stunned, unable to fathom his children's defiance. As we left, I handed Gerald a USB drive. "This has everything, footage, emails, testimonies, keep it." "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked warily. "It means I won't ruin your reputation by sharing this. That would hurt Haley, and I'd never do that." I paused. "But if you ever meddle in our marriage again, copies go to your club, your colleagues, your social circle." For For the first time, Gerald looked at me with something like respect. I underestimated you? Yes, I said. You did. 6 months later, Haley and Owen started therapy to heal from their parents' damage. Diane and Gerald kept their distance, sending occasional messages but respecting our boundaries. Then over the holidays, they invited us for dinner. A new beginning, the invitation read. Haley wanted to go. They're still my parents, she said, and they're trying. I agreed, but I wasn't naive enough to think they'd reformed. At dinner, everything seemed normal. Diane had cooked lavishly, Gerald was charming, asking about my projects with apparent interest. After the meal, he invited me to his study. I have an offer, he said, pouring me a scotch. Your photography's done well, but have you thought about branching out? I could bring you into my firm, junior partner track, generous pay. I took the glass but didn't sip. Why offer this? Your family, he said smoothly. And I admire how you handled that mess. You protected Haley while holding your ground. That's a real man. I set the glass down. I appreciate it, but no. His smile tightened. Julian, be practical. This is a peace offering. A way forward. No, I said. It's another attempt at control. You can't buy me, Gerald, and you can't stand that Haley loves me for who I am. Don't be stupid, he hissed, dropping the act. Everyone has a price, I stood. That's where you're wrong, and that's why you'll never understand your daughter. I returned to the dining room where Diane was showing Haley old photos. Look at these, she said. You were so happy living at home. Haley met my eyes, sensing something was wrong. I nodded slightly and she stood. Mom, Dad, she announced. Julian and I are expecting. I'm 3 months pregnant. Their shock was real. Diane recovered first, hugging Haley with tears. Gerald approached slowly, glancing between us. Congratulations, he said stiffly. Thank you, I replied, then whispered so only he could hear. This child will never be your pawn. I guarantee it. His face tightened, but he nodded, understanding. Driving home, Haley squeezed my hand. They'll never change, will they? No, I said honestly, but they'll have to accept that we have. 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived from Gerald's lawyer. It contained the deed to our rented house and papers for a trust fund for our unborn child. No note, no conditions, just clean transfers. It wasn't an apology. Gerald didn't do those. But it was an admission, the only one he could muster, that we'd prevailed. Our daughter, Eliza, named after my grandmother, was born in summer. Diane and Gerald visited the hospital, bringing gifts but keeping their distance. They fawned over her, took pictures, and left without unsolicited advice or financial lectures. Months later, our relationship with them settled into something like normalcy. They never apologized, but they stopped trying to control Haley's life or discredit my work. One evening, as I edited photos in my studio, Haley entered with Eliza. Mom called, she said. She wants us for Christmas. I looked up. What do you want? I think we should go, she said. But on our terms, we stay at a hotel. We leave when we're ready. No alone time with Eliza. I nodded. Fair. She sat beside me, rocking the baby. I used to think success meant pleasing my parents, earning their approval, meeting their standards. And now, she looked at Eliza, then at me. Now I know it's about making choices I'm proud of, standing by the people I love.